Wacha bakamba mukyalo kyesu kya Zambia ekyaweka enjoy. Abantu baafo bakamba kule munfumbwe. More than 20 people balebe pati ni babiri. Bagamba. Fish to Arufyanya. People have died. Mumino yabaka pokora. The police killing people. Why? In the same government, Bagamba, abductions have happened. Bagamba, if you're not with them, it's either you're dead or you're in prison. This government, you're going to change, big man. Fish to Arufyanya pakubika office. Fish to Arufyanya. Why me? Missing. Achani Rubamwa Ichoan Dizona. Where is why me? HH, tell us with your government, where is why me? Give us why me. Justice for why me, big man. Wachilamo HH. Wala tupisha mega kutupisha Bagamba. Katwale kya kulanda big man. Why you think? Maana matata. Sabia tuwasevana. Bagamba. Wanesa tuwapweni. Mujala chetu. Icha Zambia. Tuamona mwempwa. Bagamba. Tuamona mwempwa. Nama abductions Bagamba. Ubuteko tualeta. Wadulete lama. Amazala mush. No you can take her. What I bump today? No you can take her. Apa number bane. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakuvota bane. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika fuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. When you die kwa fwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Aikona man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Ikaya kwa fwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Yati kwenyu. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mayona batata. Mayona batata. Bayuthi. Tentwisuli amenso. Tentwisuli amenso. Batusendela nomba batwipaila na hope Yesu. Endika chagwa lungu watubela tinani mkwatila plan B. Nomba tuwadishiba plan B abamino ya kualesa. Bantu banga abalafu mukyalo kyesu kya Zambia. Nibanga abantu abala abducted mukyalo kyesu kya Zambia. Bambire kuli jeje banda. Nibanga abantu abala ba prison. Abena kitotela kilangwa. Bonze baba prison n'entunguru kina shimbi na shimbi. Muli one government ya kwa HH. Abantu naba famweleza. Aikata nomba baikata na kuli endika chakwa lungu atukwatile plan B. Abakubo byavyo mufulo big man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Bilabine batsendela endika chakwa lungu. Apa nomba bane. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakuvota bane. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika fuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. When you die kwa fwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Aikona man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Ikaya kwa fwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Yakuli ati kwenyu. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. HH does not mean well for Mother Zambia. Zambia to Asebana, this is not the Mother Zambia that we were left with by our ancestors, our forefathers who fought so hard to liberate us. Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Nalumino Mundia, Mama Julia Chikamoreka, Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe, they fought so hard to put this country on the map, to put this country where it is today. No man would destroy this country because we believe in unity. One Zambia, one nation, and we shall together we will change, and we are going to change this government. My name is Blaze Zambia.
Where some of your colleagues somewhere said you don't have an acting president, you have a substantive president, and almost as if they are suggesting there must be suspension of the possibility of a convention.
Well, I'll not take responsibility for the misreading of the Constitution by some of our members. The PF president is only chosen at a convention. That is very clear in the PF Constitution. The black text is very clear. It cannot be interpreted any other way. So if others have misread that, I don't think I would want to comment on that. So what is important, Kennedy, is that you don't start by saying, can we come together and go to the convention? What is creating the confusion is a delayed convention. All we need is a credible process, an accountable process to the convention. Once the convention is held, a leader will be elected. Once a leader is elected, all this confusion will come down.
Watching you, you seem to be commanding some grassroots support. There's some sort of crowd building around you wherever you go. If anything we watch on social media is something we could go by. But then one also wonders why there is this level of pushback from some of the senior colleagues within the party, not to throw their weight behind you. Is it because you are considered a threat, or what could be informing that?
Kennedy, you're right when you say that I enjoy some grassroots, a lot of grassroots support. That is very true. And because these are the people that I speak for. The grassroots support that you refer to is both within the PF and outside. If you've observed the man of campaign and the message that I'm taking to the people, I am very focused on the challenges the poor Zambians are facing, the vulnerable in society, the weak in society, the youths, the workers. These are the people that I speak for. And I believe the challenges that we face as a political party should not be the reason why we should look away from the challenges that Zambian people that are facing. There may be a few people that do not support me. I don't think that should be a major concern on my part, especially that I'm not standing alone. I'm not unopposed in this particular contest. There are others that would have opted to throw their support to other members. So my focus really is, I'm looking at the plight of the youths. I'm looking at the plight of workers, be it in the mines and in many other sectors. I'm looking at the plight of farmers, and these are things that I continue talking about. I have not abandoned my responsibility as a national leader. Firstly, I'm a member of parliament, and as a leader, I should be concerned that the farmers are not paid today. I should go out there and speak to this particular challenge that the farmers are facing. If the workers at Mopani are resigning, are going on voluntary separation every other day, and yet this is a mine that recently had some investors purportedly coming in with some new investment, then you have workers going on voluntary
threat.
The Patriotic Front is not a certificate. The Patriotic Front are the members. The ones who go to the convention are the people. Here in Livingston, the delegates are here. These are the delegates. And the delegates are resolved to go to the convention. So with or without a paper, the PF is going to the convention. And the PF are not at the Registrar of Society's office. The PF is not in the court. The PF is in the hearts of the people. And I want to emphasize, with or without Chavinga's threats, the Patriotic Front is going to the convention to elect its leader and to elect members of the Central Committee. And they will do that under my watch. The PF is going to have a convention. Mark my word.
He said this in Livingston when he met party structures. Mr. Lubinda says the party is on the ground where people's challenges exist, despite UPND's continued claims that it has delivered development.
We are living on the ground. And the real opposition in Zambia is not even the PF. The real opposition are those who are going 22 hours without power. Those whose maize was delivered in March and have not been paid up to November. So UPND can go ahead and brag however they wish, but our confidence is in the people, in those who are suffering.
One would probably ask a question, will the Patriotic Front hold its convention this year or in 2027? For now, only time will tell. Kwalombota, Mwamba reporting Prime TV News in Livingston, Southern Province.
This Chipokota here one day came to me weeping in State House because she gets whipped because she's a Mwanawasa on things she doesn't even know. And I said, Chipo, sit here. This is part of your inheritance. You have to accept that. Indeed. And I said, go back to your office and continue working. Surely, to say that Chipo, my daughter, can carry the president's child, myself, is that a matter that we should really be discussing in the public? But it comes with the territory. And I said, go back to your office and continue working. It was very difficult for her. So this is what this public office are. And my wife is a mother to her. I said, what is this? I said, relax. Just relax. Relax. That's your daughter then. Then they're saying, no, we are not allowing HH and UPND to amend the Constitution. The question is why? Because there are lacunas in there. Is it the first government to amend the Constitution? No. Who else amended the Constitution? In this manner, UNIP government. UNIP government. Bamuzungu is here. Bakurumpe. He was there. Institutional memory. UNIP amended the Constitution. The argument is that why you amend the Constitution now? So when is the right time? What does the Constitution say? It's silent. UNIP amended the Constitution in 1991. Limbina Mulava. In the election year. 1991, in the election year. People celebrated. 1996, MMD under President Chiluba, Aka Red Naka Black. May his soul rest in peace. Right? Yes, that man did a lot of things to turn the country from a wrong direction, in my view. I don't want to debate this. May his soul rest in peace. We don't appreciate a lot of things he did to move us downhill into a positive trajectory. 1996, the MMD and the FDJ amended the Constitution in the election year. There was no problem, no street fights. Same organizations didn't go in the streets. By Kalafia Tondolo, and the Constitution is being amended. No street fights. 2016, under PF, the Constitution was amended. Right? Election year. In January, the election was in August. They amended the Constitution. No one went in the streets. We were aggrieved as UPND. And I told my members, no one goes in the streets. Let's vote in Parliament. We voted and lost in Parliament. I never allowed our members to go in the streets. UPND, this man they don't like, for whatever reason. Right? You know, this level of hatred is shocking. Right? You can see that there's venom here. You can even touch it. There's venom here. We go to amend the Constitution using the same law, using the same Constitution, which was applied, clauses which were used before. It says, no, we don't want. The timing is wrong. But what about those other timings when it was amended? What was right? Why didn't you go in the streets? Ask yourselves a question. So you want to start conflict over nothing. Fellow citizens, let us act godly. After all, we are a Christian nation. Let us act in a godly manner. Let us not overexpose our hatred of others for crimes some of us did not commit. I know. I've come a long way myself. I know the feelings of a certain section of the people. I didn't choose where to be born. Neither did you. None of us should serve a sentence for a crime they did not commit. In 2021, one priest issued a statement. Chawamanga twachita rigi election, kuchila kuti abawambita tulefaya bakateke. Encouraging the government then to rig the election so that UPND and this president does not come into office. It's there. And this thing starts all over again. This is not fair. This is not correct. The evidential information is there. Chiriabushiku. Lupato. Fish. It's a lot of work we can achieve together. A lot of value we can achieve together. One Zambia. One nation. One nation. One people. This is...
Natumfuane mkwai. Natumfuane mkwai.
Point in time, as I've said already, I have not come across a single man in politics who is today thinking of spreading Zambia. Apart from this is my man in Zimbabwe, this is the southern province. What is it? He tried to do that, I think, but he didn't succeed. This what is.
Okay, so we...
no, I think he will finish it that way.
Okay.
This is my southern province. What is he? The man who is running his party.
Which one? Magande?
No. Oh, no.
He comes from Southern Province.
Southern Province, yes. This man who is he?
Hakainde Hichilema.
Hakainde
Hichilema.
Hichilema.
Hakainde Hichilema.
Who running his
UPND?
UPND, right. Apart from that, there is no other leader I can fear to run this country.
Malaiti na lelo kulibe fertilizer famasa kwanisa bati uzati kwenyu sembe tenze tinazibati. This is what you meant. Kaleza sembe siti na vote talemana boaba Zalemana boza basi eni baende tuone kovina wenye wapaka sweet tokaisha tifuna mariza utinoti mastori abamvula ya kwa manje mulimi sana fole fertilizer yodulatiza gula bonji apatienda kuma elections muzani pasa excuse bwanji ndabachiwonekani napanga mistake zalemana boba zalemana boza basi eni baende tiwone kovina wenye wapaka switokaisha tifuna mariza usinoti mastori.
Inokuya pamai.
Good day and happy festive season today, 28th December 2025. We are just a few days away before we celebrate the new year of 2026. We have to thank the Lord for the gift of life, for making us, be available to you for this precious gift of life in 2025. So you and your family must remain blessed and, must cross over into the new year. The Lord wants you in the new year. So keep yourself safe. Keep on praying. We have 3 days before the crossover. It's not done until it is done. So continue to keep yourself. Continue to pray for protection. Today we are reviewing the year. I'm going to have various programs to renew and review the year. But in the new year, I've lined up nearly every major opposition leader. I've invited them to come on this program. And for the leaders and whoever manages them, kindly confirm. From Fred Membe to Harry Calabar to Given Lubinda Brand Munduvile to Grefford Monde to Sean Tembo I have extended an invitation to all the leaders. I want us to spend, the early days in the new year just to review who our leaders are. And remember, this platform is going to choose a leader is going to support. The leader may be PF, may come from the PF, may come from outside, but we will choose a leader who we think should be qualified to challenge President Hakainde Hichilema as potential to unite his colleagues, to form a team, to bring programs for our country and emancipate us from the challenges we are facing. Today I'm hosting Honorable Sensho Banda, who's going to help me review the year. I can see he's calling, maybe it's about connection. So let me just take this short break as I introduce my guest. He hasn't connected yet. Let's see if he has any challenges. But today, we have a set of programs to review 2025. What could have been done? What has been done? Where are we? And as we go into 2026, what does 2026 hold for our country?
When you were elected, you were entrusted to exercise independent judgment and uphold the highest standards of integrity, values of paramount importance. In seeking public office, one pledges to act in accordance with conscience and the public good. Parliamentarians wield significant influence over public and political discourse. It is incumbent upon them to speak with honesty and conviction, irrespective of whether their views are met with approval or dissent. When you say what someone has paid you to say, you are not speaking with sincerity. If it were your genuine opinion, you would not need to be paid for saying it. Whether or not you believed any of what you said at the behest of Voloshin and Medvedchuk, allowing money to corrupt your moral compass constitutes a grave betrayal of the trust vested in you by the electorate. Your misconduct has ramifications far beyond personal honour, which is now irretrievably damaged. It erodes public confidence in democracy. When politicians succumb to financial inducement, the public can no longer rely on the veracity of political debate, which may be tainted by disinformation. The enlisting of fellow representatives into this activity compounds the wrongdoing, undermining the mutual trust essential to the proper functioning of democratic institutions. The corrosive damage to public life caused by such actions is enduring. The court regards bribery as a malignancy at the heart of public life, one that impoverishes the national interest. Those entrusted with public leadership are required to adhere to the highest standards of probity. The law will respond to such breaches with stern punishment, both to mark society's condemnation and to deter others from similar transgressions. The sentence on count 2 is 5 years imprisonment. The sentence on all other counts except count 4 is 5 years concurrent. The sentence on count 4 is 5.5 years consecutive, making a total sentence of 10.5 years. You will be eligible for release on licence after serving half the term, and you must abide by the conditions of the licence until the full sentence is served. Please go down, Mr. Gill.
I've sent it using my SN number. Thank you very much. My guest is just trying to connect. I'm looking at two statements. There's a statement that has been issued by Botswana over this consignment. They seem to have received a lot of backlash in their own country. Remember, President Advocate Duma Boko is under pressure in Botswana. He's taking international trips. He's taken 2 private trips in the last 2 weeks on private jets. And this is someone, you know how it is, the expectations are very high when you've just been elected. And slowly the rhetoric is beginning to precede than the action. Is being deemed as a president who talks too much but delivers very little. And then he's been talking about efficiency in public service. He's been talking about a government that should be different from the past governments. But now he's taking international private trips paid for by who no one knows. And then his country, for one reason or another, they've like a Sylvia Masebo. Remember what happened at the Ministry of Health in Zambia when Sylvia Masebo came to the ministry? She abolished the procurement unit at Ministry of Health without allowing a bridging gap, without allowing a transition. And that immediately caused shortages of medicine that lasted 3 years. 3 years. President Hakainde Hichilema was once pictured going to the Ministry of Health, and then she decided to raise a war against local pharmaceuticals in Zambia. And she said she was going to look for medicine elsewhere. And she appointed a new board at ZAMSA led by the former Auditor General, very prominent, very credible woman of valor. The problems didn't come to an end because she was constantly interfering in the process of the Director General and of the board. She pushed procurement of medicine up to $70 million procurement they did with Egypt. Controversial, because that medicine was being bought through an agency which was going to procure locally from local producers and also from India. So can you imagine, we sign an agreement of $70 million for an agency in Egypt to send medicine to us, and the medicine was not being manufactured by this agency. It's just a procurement military quasi-government agency. And it said in the contract that it was going to buy medicine from Egypt and India. So why was government getting a third party to buy medicine from Egypt and India? It was all a crisis. President Duma from Botswana seems to be facing the same crisis at the ministry. And all of a sudden, the procurement has stalled, and now he has critical shortage of medicines, of ARVs, TB, malaria, and other essential drugs that they are using. Here, Zambia has issued a statement that they airlifted up to 20 tons of medicine using the Zambia Air Force helicopter. Now, the strange part about it is Botswana has also issued their counter statement because there is serious criticism in Botswana. And Botswana says, no, we bought from Zambia. We just didn't get the donation. We bought, the bulk of it is bought from Zambia. The Zambian government is saying, even in the latest statement issued by Georgia Mutale Chimombo, Principal Public Relations Officer at the Ministry of Health, she doesn't seem, or the ministry don't seem to have recognized that there's another statement from their counter ministry from Botswana, which says we bought medicines. There are some donated, but we bought the bulk of the medicine from Zambia. Now, this even raises more concern. Remember, the ARVs are in critical supply in Zambia. TB, malaria, renal medicines for people with diabetes are in critical supply in Zambia. Of course, Zambia has been boasting about the availability of medicine, that they've risen from around 40% to 70-60%. That has yet to be seen, because every time our people go to these hospitals, they are cursing NIMA, they are cursing the institutions that there is no medicine. On one hand, government is saying there is medicine. So the procurement from Botswana is raising a lot of debate, which is which. And for Zambia, if you are selling medicine, have you gotten it from the private sector, or is it the donated medicines? Remember, although the US has halted supply of medicine and support to Zambia, they have a backlog. There is already medicine that they've donated over the last few years that is still sitting at ZAMSA warehousing. Which medicine is the Zambian government selling? Or did it put together medicine bought from the private sector and put it on this helicopter, on this plane that took the medicine to Botswana? The more they issue the statements, the more the controversy emerges. So share the broadcast. We are doing an end-of-year review. We are looking at events of the year that affected our country. I'm taking long because I have a guest in Honorable Sencho Banda. I can see he's here. Honorable Sencho Banda, welcome to today's broadcast, and how are you?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm much honored just to come.
My apologies. I learned that you were at a memorial service. I don't know who you were remembering, but my memories are with the deceased person who you were remembering today.
Okay.
But thank you that you've managed to make it. Today, Honorable Sencho Banda, we are reviewing the year. We are reviewing momentous events in the year. And I want us to start with what you think struck you mostly. For me, I want to discuss the issues of the Constitution, because President Hakainde Hichilema, if there is anything he has done this year, it's a legal framework of our country. He has changed the governance of our country. It started by those very oppressive laws, the laws regarding cyber crimes and cyber security, the CCTV laws, the IBA law, these laws that are impacting on the state of our country. And the cream is the new constitutional amendments passed, in my view, illegally. I also want to look at the state of the economy. Just begin to review the momentous events in the year.
Once more, I want just to thank you, Ambassador Mwamba. Obviously, for me, I would want to actually review the 2025, the year in abstract, because I'd like to contextualize in the sense that, for example, whatever has impacted us as a nation, we cannot run away that is within the ambit of what government is doing. For example, if you look at governments of the UPND, their interventions and all what they're doing is anchored on the 8th National Development Plan. For argument's sake, you know, there are 4 pillars, and all the events which we'll talk about, they fall within these 4 pillars. And if you look at the 8th National Development Plan, it promises transformation, but the promises have been put to test in this 2025 fiscal year, as it were. And at the same time, this particular 8th National Development Plan in 2025 has exposed gaps between policy language as well as people's lives. So I think the central question is whose development is this? Is it for the citizens, or is that which has to do with statistics? So allow me that even as we discuss these major events, they'll be within these four pillars. For example, let me give an example. In pillar number 1, there's economic transformation and job creation. And yet we have seen youth unemployment remaining high, despite claims of economic growth. We've seen small businesses collapsing because of high energy costs and also load shedding, as well as the investment costs have gone up. So the question which begs an answer is that can we say that the economy is growing when actually people's lives are not being touched? And not only that, if you look at the human and social development pillar, we continue to have droughts, which has pushed vulnerability in households, and also in terms of health facilities are overcrowded and limited resourcing, as it were. If you look at our social protection system, it's very reactive instead of being protective. So if you look at all these issues in terms of environmental sustainability and governance, all this, if we discuss as we are reviewing thematic issues which have affected us, are within these four thematic areas of the UPND's 8th National Development Plan. But to starting reviewing our year, for example, if you look at on the governance front, there's been a lot of issues which have happened, you know, because the UPND government in the governance they said will pursue good governance and rule of law. But in reality, if you look at what has happened, the momentous event in the area of governance is the contentious laws and reforms, you know, and which have raised concern in terms of participation, transparency, and accountability. And this has also caused mistrust between the citizens and those who are governing them. And key of them is the cyber law which was put in place. And if Zambians had put an ear to the ground, the way how they handled the cybersecurity bill was the telltale sign on how they are going to handle any other bills as it were. So for me, in terms of the laws, the UPND government, whatever they wanted, they pushed, they got it. If you look at the Cyber Security and Cyber Crimes Act of 2025, the stakeholders raised issues as regarding to specific provisions which were in the bill, and that particular bill was pulled out but without the consent of people, before we knew it all, it was before the House and it was enacted. And that was the beginning of trouble, along with the continued use of Public Orders Act, and that has seen a lot of Zambians in terms of, as you may be aware, that our democracy is hinged on the liberties which are provided for by the our constitution. But they have used this particular bill to stifle democracy, freedoms of speech, freedom of expression, and so on and so forth. The other bill, which again was a thorn in the flesh, was actually the constitutional amendment bill, which is now law. If you look at the process, how it was undertaken, it was no difference in how they handled the bill, the cyber crimes bill. And you saw how much that the president, that particular bill, which is in law today, was actually a shopping list of the president or the executive. And they made sure that regardless what state were going to say, that bill was going to go ahead and ensure they have the day. In fact, you saw how much that that particular event culminated into even an unpopular dance by the speaker. So another major event which happened was that in terms of corruption, because it was all about governance, that we speak over from 2024 to 2025 was the ambulance procurement irregularities. We saw how much that actually in 2024 that procurement was done with a lot of irregularities, procurement irregularities, and lack of oversight, and so on and so forth. And also we saw how much that delivery was delayed. And in the same year, this year, particular year, we saw how much that RDA, also a procurement irregularity in terms of the $1 billion which was linked to individuals close to the UPND government. This was reported in the Daily Nation. So, and furthermore, the event thing which happened this year is the demise of the former president, Gachagua Lungu. For me, that particular event should have been an event which could have actually brought us together as a country in introspection of what has happened. But what has happened is that I think the powers that be has not provided leadership in the government, that this matter is put to rest, as well as to ensure that there's a unity in the country. And today we still have our former president still actually in the morgue. The other event which happened was the Mfumbwe actually, the Mfumbwe mining disaster. That was a disaster which actually exposed to the fact that we have got high level of youth unemployment and high level of actually household dependence, which is about 90%. Those who are over and above or below 18 years old, about 90% are being kept, as it were. And that was exemplified of what happened in Mfumbwe. Another event which was quite actually telling was the judicial check, which happened when Munia and Council Mkandela went to the Constitutional Court to have a judicial review over the matter of the constitutional making process. And the court was very actually instructive in as far as the ruling was concerned, and that there were about 10 provisions which were actually breached by the powers that be. And the bill was declared unconstitutional, but however, we saw how the power that be actually carried the day. And another event which I think also was worth noting was in August when actually government announced that actually there was a bumper harvest of 3.7 million metric tons. That was quite a joyous moment. However, like as usual, this government, they are prone to sell whatever comes their way. Why do I say so? Their policies are business centric. This is seen in how they handle food reserve when they came into power. You know very well, Honorable Mwamba, that food, maize in particular, is our staple food. And the insecurity around that, it causes vulnerability in our household. You saw how when we came into power, right away they sold off the surplus which was there. But this instance of 3.7 million metric tons, and stated that we know that our crops, our grain is rain driven, and that there was need to have reserves. Reserves are meant, one, to stabilize the prices, two, to deal with emergencies, and also the surplus to actually able to export. But what happened is that the 3 million, of course, is meant for food and animal feed, and the excess of 7 million or 700 metric tons has been earmarked for export. That's irresponsible for government to do that. Why? Because what if God does not bless us with good rain? So,
oh, thank you. I might have lost my dear brother there, but we are reviewing the year. And he's brought notable issues, issues of debt. For me, there are many issues I'm looking at. We're coming from drought, and President Hakainde Hichilema and his team are projecting that we are in a mode of recovery and we'll score up to 5.8% GDP growth. Now, those numbers are being driven mostly by mining. And, if you read what Jeffrey Sachs always say, that this is growth without development, because the benefits go, for example, to the owners of the mines. So if you hit a 1 million metric ton target, where do the benefits go? Currently, copper is trading at $14,200 per ton at the Shanghai Stock Exchange. The main market is, of course, London Metal Exchange. But on the Shanghai Metal Exchange, copper is trading at $14,200. But where do these benefits go? Unfortunately, not to Zambia. To the owners of the mines. Yeah, you'd say, no, there'll be some impact, there'll be some trickle-down effect. As far as the country doesn't own these entities, it becomes difficult for us to have any benefits. Some people have been arguing that ZCCM IH has proper shareholding. Does it? All I remember is from the privatization program when we had those golden shares and they didn't exceed 20%. And the return on your 20% on these mines is significantly low. And remember, they engage in activities that ensure that they don't declare the profits for you to be paid the dividends. This government and Paul Kabusu have been bragging that they've raised the shareholding of ZCCM, for example, in Mopani, from 10% to 49%. That's not true. As of 2020, Mopani was owned 100% by ZCCMIH. 100%. The records are there, and that's why you are saying we are giving 51% and thereby sharing the $1.1 billion, which has never come to our country. You, colleagues, should take interest in the judgment by Miles Sampa on his on the sale of Mopani. That is a historical landmark judgment, the minority judgment led by Professor Margaret Mnalula was very telling. First of all, it discloses that no money has come to the Zambian government. So the so-called 51% sale, literally no one can account for it. Two, of course the shares were sold illegally in breach of Article 210 of the Republican Constitution. I have to check if my guest is back. I can see he's still hanging. I need to call him and see how we can. So look for the judgment in the Miles Sampa versus Attorney General case on the sale of Mopani, and look for the minority judgment. There were 7 judges, 4 led by Judge Shilimi, who we have always said has links to President Hakainde Hichilema, has, was a lawyer and sat on the board for one of the companies associated with President Hakainde Hichilema until 2022 when he was appointed, led 3 other judges in affirming the sale. On a technicality that Article 210, although they agreed the sale was unconstitutional, was illegal, but they stated, the majority judgment, that the sale could not be reversed on a technicality that the Act 210 of the Republican Constitution has not been actioned out. But the minority judgment led by Judge President Margaret Mnalula, Professor Mnalula, was very emphatic that you can't hide in procedures. Our role as Constitutional Court is to interpret the Constitution. What did the people of Zambia want? The people of Zambia wanted that if any of their assets is being sold, it requires 2/3 majority of the Republican Constitution. Was Mopani sold? Yes, it was, because shareholding of up to 51% was transferred. So a sale took place. Did it go to Parliament? No. So the minority judgment said this sale was unconstitutional, must be reversed. A future government would deal with this serious illegality. So on growth and recovery that we're coming from a drought, remember that drought was exacerbated by ourselves. And let me explain. The drought was predicted for the next 10 years. It was predicted in 2015. The El Nino comes in a cycle of 10 years. And they predicted that the 2023-2024 season will be dry. They didn't expect such a severe drought, but it was predicted. And by 2022, institutions like FuseNet that look at the weather patterns and food security warned Southern Africa, keep your food, store your food. There's one of the major drought that will hit Southern Africa. So we were warned first for 10 years by experts. And particularly in 2022, a warning was issued. Our government kept on exporting power. They were reminded again and again that there are these expert advice that we should store our maize. We shouldn't give away our season. They proceeded to literally export the entire national strategic reserve. Hence the severity of the drought when it came. It was anticipated. We were warned in advance. But what did we do? We gave it away. Let me check. Is my dear brother back? Honorable Sensual Banda, are you back? I may need to speak to him in the background. And let me just take a short break as we discuss the events of 2025. And we'll be opening the phone lines. We'll be opening the phone lines.
I go to Chingola, Chiwempala, people are throwing stones, attacking a sitting head of state, the same guy they were attacking in opposition. That day, I had to shout. I saw one policeman raising a gun to shoot at the guy who was throwing stones at me. I shouted, you follow the videos, you hear my shouting. If I did not shout, there could have been 30 body bags there. There could have been dead people there. Other presidents would have basically allowed people to have been killed there. Because you try and do that to a head of state, you are killed. You are shot to be killed, not to be injured. I said, no, I will not have blood on my hands. As I stopped the UPNB members to revenge, to attack those who were beating them, those who were killing them, I said, do not do it. Chiwempala said, no. I shouted, I said to the policeman, no one shoots here, no one. But we've seen in other countries how many people are being shot at. I said, no. That is the way the country must be. We will not allow any thuggery to return to our streets, to our bus stops.
Lero bwacha bakamba mu kyalo kyesu kya Zambia ekyaweka Enjoy. Abantu bafa bakamba kule mu nfumbwe. More than 20 people balebe pati ni babiri. Bagamba. Fish to arufyanye. People have died. Mumino yabaka pokola. The police killing people. Why? In the same government bagamba. Abductions have happened. Bagamba. If you're not with them, it's either you're dead or you're in prison. This government, you're going to change big man. Fish to arufyanye bakubika mu office. Fish to arufyanye. Why me? Missing. Achani ruba mwaicho and dishonor. Where is why me? HH, tell us with your government, where is why me? Give us why me. Justice for why me, big man. Wachila mo HH. Wala tupwisha bega kutupwisha bagamba. Katwale kya kulanda big man. Why you think? Maana watata. Sambe tuwasevana. Bagamba. Wanesa tuwapweni. Mujala chetu. Ija Zambia. Tuamona mwepwa. Bagamba. Tuamona mwepwa. Nama abductions bagamba. Ubuteko tuwaleta.
Thank you very much. I'm hosting Honorable Sencho Banda, and we are reviewing the year. I'm highlighting some issues. Government says there's economic growth and recovery, and I was just demonstrating that the severe drought, which was predicted from 2015, when we had another one of the worst in the last 30 years before this big one, predicted that the second one was going to be in the cycle of 2023-2024 farming season. We didn't yield. We ended up selling our entire national strategic reserve, and we ended up now issuing a begging bow for the international community to give us. We even extended our loan, our bailout from $1.3 billion from IMF to 1.7 to tackle with the drought, because there was critical food shortage as a result of, for me, management. There's an issue of debt, which is being touted as a success. For me, the issue of this debt management and debt restructure is utter failure. We didn't exploit our relationship with China. We owe China about $6 billion. We didn't secure any debt write-off. There is a movement by the Vatican to form a similar Jubilee movement in the world for these first world countries to cancel these debts, because these debts are inherently not debts. If you know about the current debt structure, they don't allow you to trade. You have funny trading terms. You don't exploit your own resources. Even when you exploit them, you don't have capacity to process them. The industries is in the West. It's cheap. The cheapest part of mining oil and mineral resources is in its mining. That's the cheapest part. The value comes in the process and the products that come out of it. So they ensure that Africa does not have capacity. IMF will never give you a loan to set up an industry. They will never. They'll give you a loan for consumption, or to manage your currency, or to manage your budget status. They'll never give you that you have copper. You need an industry that should process copper into finished products. They'll never do that. But they'll give you a loan for consumption, and you are yoked to them. Zambia has collected its last bounty from the IMF bailout loan, is renewing another loan. But what did Zambian government do with the $1.7 billion it got from the IMF? there is now serious concerns about our debt sustainability because Msokotwane has been borrowing and borrowing. He wants another loan from the IMF after finishing $1.7 billion. So in one breath, they are saying that the country is resolving its debt crisis. On the other, he has embarked on the borrowing spree that is known for, like he did between 2008 and 2011. He found a debt of $500 million, and when he left, the debt was sitting at $3.8 billion. Already, the debt that Msokotwane has accumulated is in excess of $4.5 billion between 2021 and 2024. He wants you to talk about the debt restructure and the debt that the PF left. He doesn't want you to talk about the current debt that he has since accumulated and which they can't show for it. They definitely can't show for it. We've gone into political fragility once again, where the PF, the major political party in Zambia, has been attacked relentlessly by State House. It has been stolen from the Patriotic Front, and there are relentless efforts that the PF should not be on the ballot. The PF has been to court, it has been everywhere. And the UPND hold it that they've killed the PF, and they will not allow any institution, whether it's parliament or the judiciary or registrar of societies, to give life to the PF. They've killed it, they want it dead, because they know the opposition is fragmented and the opposition cannot marshal a candidate, to overcome the instability they brought in the PF. Zambia now is being regularly cited for human rights abuse, human rights violations, even on the issues of freedom of expression with all these laws we've passed. We even had a special rapporteur on freedom of expression who came to our country, and she's done a damning report. They thought that by presenting that PF was terrible, PF committed more atrocities and crimes, therefore they'll be absolved. The human rights report, by Madam Khan is very clear. It has held the UPND accountable for its own human rights violations, human rights abuse, and these laws that it has crafted, oppressive laws that has taken away rights and freedoms of our people. Sports setback. Our country will be playing Morocco tomorrow, and now you need a calculator to know if we will even qualify. This is a pitiful sight where our football has sunk to. We are failing to qualify, and for the first time we are being referred to by commentators, Zambia underdog. When did we become underdogs? So our socio-economic challenges even go up to our culture and now sports, where we are just ranking among the West in everything, despite the optimism from President Hakainde Hichilema. Today, they've been boasting that President Hakainde Hichilema has been voted by a newspaper in London called the Daily Telegraph. It's called the Telegraph. It's a conservative broadsheet newspaper. We have two types of newspaper. Times and Daily Mail are broadsheet. So the broadsheet, they are big, broad. It's difficult for you to read it in a bus or in a car. Then there are tabloids. The Post, my newspaper, and others, Daily Nation. Those are what we call tabloids. The big ones are called broadsheet. So the Daily Telegraph is a broadsheet. It's a conservative newspaper published in London. It has published an article of interest that Africa's pretty girl, Hakainde Hichilema, caught in the Donald Trump and Xi Jinping power struggle. And it says Zambia's Hakainde Hichilema has turned his country into a prize both superpowers covet. And this article has been preceded. It looks bought. It looks bought. Remember, when on his way to G20, the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang visited Zambia for a 2-day visit before he went to Johannesburg. And earlier, after him, there was the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Economic, Energy and Business Affairs. He's like a permanent secretary. Caleb O, who visited Nairobi, Kigali, and Zambia. In Nairobi and Kigali, he signed a $2 billion donation to them. To Zambia, he didn't. He gave rhetoric. And then there was an EU-Zambia Lobito Corridor business summit that was held on how to transport these critical minerals to export markets, especially EU and the US. Remember, there's an attempt by China to dominate. China already dominates the rare and critical minerals sector in reserves, in production, and in processing. China is the biggest dominant factor in this sector because of the EV market. That's why even their vehicle is now number one leading vehicle in the world. They are now leading even the electric vehicle market and technology. EU and America are doing catch up in this sector. So there's an attempt to target Zambia and DRC that is critical and rare earth metals be exported to the EU and US market, hence the Lobito Corridor. Now, I laugh at this. They don't need to speak to President Hakainde Hichilema. He doesn't own these mines. He's given them. Who owns Mopani, one of the largest mines in Africa and in the world? Who owns Sentinel mine in Solwezi? Who owns Lumwana? Do they need to speak to President Hakainde Hichilema to secure those minerals? And even the new mineral finds are being given cobalt to cobalt. Cobalt didn't do any finding. The findings have always been there, like Konkola Deep and the mine where cobalt is, are old, well-known assets. Who is he giving them to? ZCCM is nowhere. Copper is trading at $14,200. We sold the mines when copper was selling at $2,000. It's now at $14,200 and it will continue to rise. In fact, there's a prediction that in the next 10 to 20 years, copper will be trading between $20,000 to $50,000 per ton. Remember, cobalt has jumped from $1,200 a ton. It went, I remember in 2019, 2020, it reached $75,000 a ton. But it has now settled after China, I think, got its reserves, because they pile up reserves. It has now settled, cobalt has now settled around $35,000 per ton. And we don't have the mines. We don't have the mines. So do you have something to say in the year on the governance of our country, on issues that have occurred in 2025? Our failing position, whether it's in sports, in economy, our people have been subjected to some of the worst load shedding. They're suffering the worst cost of living crisis that we've never experienced in the last 60 years. What is your view? The line is now open. I don't know where my guest is. He could be having challenges and difficulties in connecting. Let me just check if he's back. He's not back. I've given him a second link. Honorable Sencho Banda, you can tune in on the second. I see this is a still picture when he froze. So the lines are open. Make your contributions. We are reviewing the end of the year. Now, our acting Deputy Secretary General, Celestine Mukandila, issued a statement about the PF holding a conference by April. I think the statement has been misunderstood in many ways. By April didn't mean that we are going to have the conference in April. As you heard from the videos that I played earlier, Honorable Given Lubinda is very emphatic that we will hold the General Conference as soon as possible. Honorable Brian Mundwila has expressed anxieties that we need to hold this general conference. It's festive period, but we're using the opportunity to review the year. Core, and let's hear your views.
That's great.
The Patriotic Front is not a certificate. The Patriotic Front are the members. The ones who go to the convention are the people. Here in Livingston, the delegates are here. These are the delegates. And the delegates are resolved to go to the convention. So with or without a paper, the PF is going to the convention. And the PF are not at the Registrar of Society's office. The PF is not in the court. The PF is in the hearts of the people. And I want to emphasize, with or without Chavinga's threats, the Patriotic Front is going to the convention to elect its leader and to elect members of the Central Committee. And they will do that under my watch. The PF is going to have a convention. Mark my word.
He said this in Livingston when he met party structures. Mr. Lubinda says the party is on the ground where people's challenges exist, despite UPND's continued claims that it has delivered development.
We are living on the ground. And the real opposition in Zambia is not even the PF. The real opposition are those who are going 22 hours without power. Those whose maize was delivered in March and have not been paid up to November. So UPND can go ahead and brag however they wish, but our confidence is in the people, in those who are suffering.
One would probably ask a question, will the Patriotic Front hold its convention this year or in 2027? For now, only time will tell. Kwalombota, Mwanangombe reporting.
Thank you. The lines are open. We are reviewing the year. What major event in the year impacted you? Which major event impacted you in 2025? Was it load shedding? What event really impacted you very strongly in 2025? I think load shedding is one of them. The rolling power cuts just destroyed business, and it will be very difficult to recover from it. But also the power traders minted millions of dollars. Remember, suddenly President Hakainde Hichilema used the power crisis to reform the sector. There was no process in Parliament. There was no legal framework. There was no stakeholder engagement. He just, used literally presidential powers, commandeered NAPSA to invest in Mamba collieries up to $300 million for the second phase they are doing of a thermal power station, other than the already 300 megawatts that they already have. He decreed open access, meaning that ZESCO infrastructure was now directed to carry power from other traders. You didn't need to generate power. You didn't need to own any power station. All you needed were links from Botswana, Namibia, Mozambique, buy the power and export to them, and vice versa. So you saw companies that were just recently formed were the ones at the center of the power trade, and they're the ones that were now importing and exporting power. And there was dedicated power exports, if you look at the statistics, and looking at what the country suffered. Two major things. ZESCO was deprived of its traditional income in the import and export of power trade, and it was also forced to supply the mines and export this power, whatever power it had. So there's been an emergence of power traders. So the sector was significantly reformed unilaterally, and the independent power producers who are supposed to produce this power, the agreements have been very, very secretive. No one knows what ZESCO has signed. Remember, ZESCO already has unfair a trading agreement. It sells power to CEC extremely cheap. Then it buys power very expensively from independent power producers like Mamba collieries. And it is stuck in perpetual loss motion. the power it exports to bulk suppliers, to bulk buyers like CEC is done at a very low price. Then it is forced to buy at this huge price from independent power producers like Lunsemfwa and Mwamba Collieries. Okay, I forgot we have callers. Sorry, my phone was on silence. You can call and make your contribution. What was the most significant issue in the year 2025? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Nwamunkonge.
Mkwaiba Munkonge, make your contributions. But you are ready to mish. Yes.
Ambassador, in a Tongalanda coffee, Mwaka on so you. Kuruba liruenu bafe wino sana ukutura broadcast yuko ya iskira alione sama issues yo kukulanda po kwena abantu bakuile bashitashani bashita understand bakubala mwalikoma ile sana kwa bio 7 yasuka ya numba chiri bafitwaro kwa bio 7 shetu wala chitashani abantu bafuile bala bakofyo kwe bati bio 7 night uko shina shimbi nsambu isho abantu bengali kwe bati la bio 7 yafirwa yakano kwendera mubi baba uko chitapo mu pantanji then ambassador yendera ndapo pamwa koyo wapo ifinipinga kwa mwala ndapo fyako na ole charo firo mfuika nomba muruba birungi ambassador abena Zambia abengi amama ku Zambia lingi amali ashinga kuli kuranisha wala firo kuchita understand so ndero mba kubuli mwaka tulengira mu ambassador ngapali lyashi ili kulile sana ngalenge charo chezu taona ika like fine fya kuibati wapanga diru ya amaraiti barashitisha barestampisha amaraiti ama abena Zambia bare chura nomba kwaisa neriashi chabafunya ku maraiti kwaisa neriashi ya miti batu amuna ko mutaro chesu imiti yofo shashupa tete kubena akali shaka ku piko kwebati twashitisha bane benshi imiti ndero mbako bambassador please nangu ni pama platform pamwe swapa amwakwata ko limwe lyaje mwatubula kukokola bati twaishibe fya kutaiza abantu Ileri ashiri asebana because imibere yabo fyo mbone inenga chako bati ile sebana sana limbi ngena Zambia kuchitwa kako nombe chirengo kwe bati bale ira pantanshi no ambassador ngamafunye eri ashiri sensitive ba propaganda ba barandayo ba mwambana bena bali bano obufi ba mwamba bena bala buleri achiri enu no kuli akanya limbya pali 50 yako kuli bachurusha tayari yako kuli bashani muri Filipini abantu babakweta ba confused na mwana na Filipini sika kuchawamba pama elections na abantu abakwebati bona ole ama votes yako akandidate tule fwaikwa babura abagatu abarumbure babura basopana na pena ambassador mwe bakwete kwa menzo ya kwista muri umwaka tule ifine mu mwana ama problems ofo ya leisa wangu mwaikara panshi mwamu ofo chinga barangu ni kuchawa ama Filipine na ulipa social media pako bachara ama propaganda lyonse yamjo kurashima bali ino inshita yala shimako mwachitako connect bonse na ba kumi no ino mukashana tea bambya baba liko genuine ideli ashiriri important mababika ko panshi pako bacho muntu onstareta oko aisura ku media afuma kuli ba mwamba ale yakuli bache asanga yashiri molini ale yakuli ba queen kumi asanga lyashiri molina so apatire ya pantanji ndemiro mbako emwe ba mwambanga ba engineer already you are a public secretary wa ya Japan na mkwata ama prime for to inga chita defend Japan so aba bantu ababa kwiteko ama followers abengi mwibare kafe babare yendera babikeni panshi batu mulimo mubombere pamwe akawonso yuwapo kwamba pali poison ya kuchambeshi kwamba pali gold mining ifyare chitika yonse eri ashiriyare isape kwino kulimo so apanomba tuleya pangeni ko mashina lili akweba chili ashinga lyaisa bamwamba festi lyako kora pamita pafyako bati abantu baishi bechinene chishinga kweba chifire chitikani mukupera abantu ichinene chishinga nero tuleya kumavoti abantu bakaba kwata amano aya kufunguruka tapali winga babepa.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Honorable Sencho Banda is back. Honorable Sencho Banda, finish your thoughts.
All right. Yeah. So basically, what I was saying was that if you look across all the thematic areas in terms of how the UPND government has applied itself in the area of job creation, transformation, human and social development, in terms of environmental sustainability, as well as good governance and rule of law. If you look at the major events which happened within the year, for example, if you look at economic transformation and job creation, for an example, a good example, this year's inflation in terms of inflation for in January 2025 was about 16.3% thereabout, and the food basket by just TR was about 11,800 and thereabouts. But if you notice, right now the inflation is about 11.2%. But if you look at the food basket, it has gone up. So these are major events in the sense that on one end, the government is projecting that actually government is doing well, the inflation is going down, but the cost of living has continued to skyrocket. Because, you know, one thing is that development must not be in abstract. Development must be personal, must be local, must be daily, in the sense that whatever happens at a fundamental level, there must be a trickle-down effect. I know for a fact that they're saying, oh yeah, wait for us to work on the fundamentals. It shouldn't take that long to ensure that the fundamentals affect the people on the ground. Another example which I gave was also on the area of environmental sustainability. This government has failed to effectively manage the mining sector in terms of self-mining. And you've seen that we've got weak oversight and control measures to ensure that people are protected, because what happens, environmental harm, when that happens, the people who pay the price are the poorest of the poor. You've seen what happened in Kitwe, you know, and Kalolushi, when the river was polluted. The people who are paying the blunt are Zambians. You saw what happened in Luapula, and so on and so forth. And I also talked about on the governance side of it, how much that actually, as we talk, one of the major events is that look at Parliament itself. There's been a trend consistently to decimate the parliamentary democracy, and that was seen even after when the Bill 10 became law. How the speaker himself gave that dance, and we've seen time and again how the judiciary itself provide, because as you know, that there are many ways on how we can provide checks and balance. One is in Parliament, other one is judicial review, the other one is actually freedom of speech and expression. And you've seen how that even this government, time and again, as a trend, they have gone against what the court has said and done what they think is right for them. So for me, on the governance front, this government has felt one of the major events. If you look at the FIC reports, for 2025 FIC reports, it's very telling in the sense that there was 3.5 billion illicit financial flows, and the report explicitly depicts that this was done through shell companies and through smuggling of products. For example, in Zambia, what products can be of higher value, which can be smuggled, other than gold itself? So for me, is that again on the corruption side, this government has failed. So for me, is that these major events, they have not happened in abstract. They have happened within the framework which has been provided by UPND in vis-a-vis economical transformation and job creation, in terms of human and social development, environmental sustainability, and good governance. Look, another aspect on good governance, which has been a trend, which has worked against our democracy. Look at the by-elections we've had and the basis on which they have been caused have been on firm ground. You look at the Munia case, look at the JJ case, look at Mabonga case, look at the reasons why these by-elections have been caused because of the laws which have been put in place, like I said earlier, the cyber security and cyber crimes law. So for me, is that development must not be in abstract. And in any case, these four thematic areas, they're interconnected. When there's weak governance, it erodes economical gains. When there's environmental harm, it worsens poverty. And when there's social failure, there's instability. So for me, I think this year has been a year of tasting. And above all, one of the issues which still are standing, one of the issues was the president, the former president is death, is demise, has actually challenged our laws in as far as how we can manage former president's office, because this government was not dealing with President Edgar Lungu as a president of PF, but was dealing with him as a former member, former president or head of state. And again, this is a thorn issue. It's sad that up to now, our president, our former president, has not been put to rest. Why? Because we cannot swallow our ego and say, okay, fine, let's put differences aside and bury the president, former president, and give what the family want. So these are, a cocktail basket of major events which have happened in the year. Unfortunately, most of them have not worked for our good. Rightly so, much as they said, we've made advances in this area, in the economic sector and all that, mining, but governance failure can actually reverse any gain which have been attained in the economic front. And again, by and large, is that if you look at even the pronouncement they are making, like we've made gains in the mines in terms of production and contribution to GDP. But you and me, if we deconstruct the GDP and look at the receipts and look at who are the owners of that the income, which is
Honorable Sencho Banda, let me just take this call. Let me take some calls. People are asking, and Honorable Sencho Banda has brought a key issue regarding the late president, who was almost 7 months, hasn't been put to rest, and that's a critical matter. Thank you, Honorable Sencho Banda. But let's hear from the callers. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
This is Daniel calling in from Cape Town.
Daniel, make your contributions.
Yes, listening to the person on what's his name again, Mr.
Honorable Sencho Banda, former Kasenengwa MP.
Yes. You see, what is analyzing, I don't see it holding water, because we've all seen that UPND has used propaganda against the opposition that it merely did when it was in power. If you remember very well, Mr. Mwamba, there was a downgrade that was done of Zambia by, I can't remember very well, the ones that did the downgrade, which we all knew that it was the propaganda done by the UPND when they were in opposition. And they are still doing it, like what we've seen today, where they say HH has been put among the great leaders in the world, which we know those are friends that he uses to upgrade him. He's working with something that is in numbers and not the actual thing. And the opposition, what it's not doing is attacking to what is important. Like we all know that Zambia is not at its best. People are starving in Zambia. We've had people have stayed without electricity for 4 years. If you go in hospitals, there is no medicine. But you hear people saying Zambia has not donated medicine in Botswana. I was in Zambia for 2 years. What I'm talking about is something that I saw with my eye. I've got hypertension. I hardly got medicine from any public hospital in Zambia. Every time I went, I had to buy my medicine. But when you see the UPND talking, they bring out a picture like everything is okay in Zambia. And then the opposition, again, they don't attack with the things that are on the ground. You follow them with what they are doing. Like when they go for Bill 7, you tag along to Bill 7, which we know that they are in numbers and they've got the machinery. The winners going with them in Parliament. But if you really consider the things that are happening, you go for the people that are suffering. That's where we can pin down the UPND. That is my worry. I see that even if for 2025, if you had to ask the UPND, what have you done? They won't point at anything. I've seen projects that they are finishing that were started by the PF. Employing 30,000 teachers is not an achievement. Employment, even as I speak now, I can employ a person, but paying them is what is the problem. So we should know how to do our game and let's work together to bring down the UPND than saying things that are not adding water to what we are doing. They are doing things that are injuring us, like getting the Chawama seat. They just go there, they take it, and we have to campaign again, which you are -1 in your campaign. As you are doing, you've lost Dasira Rungu. But what have they lost? So we should counter them on fighting them on what we see will injure them. It's like we've lost all our connections as PF, as the opposition. We are fighting a losing battle as I see now. Thank you very much, Mr. Mo.
Oh, thank you very much. Let me just take some more calls so that Honorable Sencho Banda can just respond to them comprehensively. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba. This is Sinyangwe Dani.
Yes, Mr. Dani.
Ambassador, I was just looking at your year review, and then the only thing that I have to say is, as Zambians, we need to ask ourselves, where are we and where do we want to go? First and foremost, we cannot be a country where we have not yet buried our Republican former head of state. And then we all pretend that Fiance Filifio will know. Can we start asking ourselves honestly, that is something that has really made me look at my country, Zambia, and ask myself, is this what we are and what can we do better than this? Because at the end of it all, we cannot pretend that this is okay. Then secondly, my core and appeal is this. I still have hope in Zambia. The only thing is, let us not put our egos ahead of us. Let us be selfish for Zambia. Let us just put things aside and ask ourselves to say, look, 2026 here we come. We've got something ahead of us, and this is good for all Zambians. If we can just select one person, and that person is the one who's going to lead Zambia in the 2026 August election. I, for one, have looked at all the candidates, and I've looked at one person, and that is Makebi Zulu, and I'll continue standing behind him, and let the other opposition also stand behind this person. We are doing this for Zambia, we're not doing this for anyone. So we ask of all Zambians, let us continue praying for our God, and God is going to provide us a way forward. And we also pray for you, Ambassador Mwamba. You've been doing a good job. May you continue being a blessing to many, many people that follow you. God bless you and thank you, Ambassador Mwamba.
Thank you. Honorable Sencho Banda, speak about opposition unity. It's a matter that has preoccupied the debate in the whole year. Our people want somehow the leaders to work together, but our leaders don't seem to get it.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think we have seen different groups coming together and in the name of wanting to have a united opposition. We saw the coming in of UKA, we saw the coming in also of Tomse, and recently we saw the coming in of Oza. So for me, the first challenge is that the challenge we have is that we first want to find who can do the job and then prescribe the job later. What I'm saying is that the preoccupation of most of these actually alliances is that they come to the table with preconceived idea. They say this is the ideal person and so on and so forth. So for me, the approach should be actually come on the table, because we all have got different aspirations, we've got different part ideals. But what brings us together is a shared vision of Zambia, a shared vision of a Zambia right now, which is sick in the sense that our democracy has been decimated, and sick in the sense that if we go in the state we are to 2026 general election, it means actually we will go in even deeper, because as you may be aware that our democracy is held together by the Constitution. The Constitution is the fabric which holds us together. But already an attempt has been made to decimate the Constitution. And the only safe which is there is for when this opposition put aside their personal egos and have the interests and the aspirations of Zambians, have a shared vision, have in place specific thematic areas against which they can vet who should be the leader of a united opposition. So for me, I think there is need to come to the table with open hands. And when we come to the table with open hands, we tell that we'll be open to whoever will carry the day. Because if that does not happen, as Zambians, our democracy, which our forefathers fought for, meaning that in 1991, and if we do not actually harness the opposition now, we're in big trouble. So I think for me is that the problem one is that we do not come to the table with the view to have the interest of Zambians at heart, with the view of I must be president. So for me, my request to all those who are president of the political party is that let's come together. Let's have the common interest of Zambians. Let's come together and have common programs which can try and alleviate Zambians from the problems which we are in, because the next government which will come will be a transitional government in the sense that we have to invest a lot of things which have gone wrong in view of governance issues, in view of the economy, in terms of the mines and so on and so forth. So the stakes are huge. So the call is for every opposition leader. An example is in Kasama. Already we are seeing every opposition is going there to field in a candidate. But the case should be, let's come together. Let's put our heads together so that we can deal with the issue of actually the disunity in the opposition. Maybe Ambassador Mwamba, allow me also to talk briefly about the issue of energy. One of the issues which have been very consistent is on energy is that in a country which has got consistent access and affordable access to energy is a country which develops, because human development and economic development are attached to that. And that being the case, any government, any well-meaning government is that their call should be to make the lives of people possible, not only possible, but better amidst scarcity of resources. And energy is the scarcity of resources. And as it is now, this government should have prioritized the Zambian in terms of that Zambians develop. But policies have been always pro-business. Why do I say so? When they came into government, task was to export. Let me give an example. Last year, Zambezi River Authority, we shared with Zimbabwe equally about 8 billion cubic meters, equally Zimbabwe and Zambia. And our load shedding was between 12 hours to about 18 hours load shedding. Okay, but this year we had 13 billion metric tons allocated to Zambia, and we had actually the export was reduced from 500 plus to about 200 plus, and also Chisamba came on board, and also the other plants, solar plants came on board. We expected actually that the load shedding will have reduced, but in the opposite, load shedding has increased. So the question which begs and answers is that why is the excess going to? The excess is being exported, and this is seen in the inconsistencies in how they provide answers as to why, for example, now we've got a little bit of power. On one breath, the vice president says, oh no, actually, because there's water coming through from Kafue and we've got more water. And there comes also the Minister of Information says, oh no, because voting from Mozambique. And you have a candidate, which is laughable. From Chawama, he says, when President HH went to Zimbabwe, signed the contract with Zimbabwe, and now more water is coming into Zambia. And you see these inconsistencies. It shows that actually it's business as usual, in the sense that the policies are government-centric, be it in petroleum, be it in electricity. Their policies have been government-centric. And the other thing now, which also I wanted also to retaliate, was the issue which they raised in terms of saying, no, actually, President HH, you talked about briefly about him being the best and so on and so forth. I'm of the view that the claims that HS is one of the best presidents, it deserves still scrutiny, not applause by default. So leadership must be judged not by intentions, by speech or international praises, but by the measurable outcomes that and the lived experiences of citizens, especially the poor. Look at all the economical fronts. What has happened right now? Cost of living high. Look at how the debt management has been. As them I said, oh yes, we managed to deal with the debt issue. But what has been the social impact on the poor? So when the government highlights debt restructuring and the economic reforms, ordinary Zambians are yet to feel the meaningful relief. The cost of living is too high, and employment, particularly among the youths. And yes, they're saying yes, debt restructuring was unavoidable, but restructuring alone is not a developmental strategy. It has come with austerity measures. I always argued that debt restructuring was a relief. And also that government should have programs to ensure that they stimulate the economy and that we start seeing results in the mainstream economy, and that many Zambians are actually introduced in the cash economy. But that has not been the case. So these are some of the issues which we are grappling as a nation, because we have got two tales of Zambia. One on statistics, which shows actually things are okay, but the lived reality of Zambians is different. So those are some of the issues which actually were seen throughout this year, as it were.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, someone touched on the Chawama by-election and is typifying the confusion that is happening in the opposition. The UPND is featuring Morgan Munda. The opposition, first you have PF and Tonse Alliance, who have picked on FDD as a special purpose vehicle, and they picked Bright Nundwe. The Citizen First have picked Davison Mlenga. Leadership Movement has picked Mtazana Musukuma. New Congress Party, which is literally using, in its campaign, they're trying to use the name of the late President Edgar Lungu, has picked Muhammad Mutete. And the National Democratic Congress has picked James Piri. Exodus Party has picked Alfred Mageza. Then there are two independents, George Mwenya and Elijah Siatwambo. And this is likely going to repeat itself in Kasama. Citizen First have announced Aaron Zimba, and we know that the PF under Tonse will announce their candidate, and also a Socialist Party. So the fragmentation in the opposition is worrying our people. This is not democracy. This is the opposition behaving irresponsibly. They know what they are facing. They are facing a man that's transforming the country into dictatorship. He's enacted laws to shrink the democratic space. He has attacked the largest party in Zambia, the Patriotic Front, and they appear to be toying with this. Let's begin. This is a festive period, and I recognize you were at a funeral. Let's begin to wind up, and I'm glad that you reconnected and said your thoughts completely. Let's begin to wind up. What are your last thoughts? What is your projection for 2026, especially that we have an election coming up in 2026? What do you expect? Can the ECZ be trusted to run a democratic, fair, and transparent election? What is your expectations of the ruling party and the opposition party? What will happen in 2026?
Like I have always consistently argued, the constitutional democracy as provided by Article 1 of our Constitution, and that be the case, by extension, power to the people, and the means of translating this power from the people to those entrusted to run public affairs on their behalf is through an election. And what is worrying is that, like any other institution of governance, is that the ECZ is compromised in the sense that you've seen that there are some commissioners who are aligned to the UPND, and it will be folly to think that actually anything good will come out of that. For me, is that this thing has been systematic in the sense that, like I said, look at the cyber crimes law. Watch out on how it's going to be used in 2026 elections in view of parallel voter tabulation. Because if you look at clauses in that particular law, and actually the ECZ, along with other investigative wings, shall use that to stifle the discrimination of information. So, and that be possible because there are user-friendly people who have been used in putting ECZ to ensure that the power that be have their way. That is why I think there is need for unity among the opposition to come together and demand an audit, first and foremost, to ensure that the people who carry us forward into the 2026 general election and those who seemingly should not be biased or aligned to a particular political party, as it is the case with some of the commissioners who are aligned with the UPND. And secondly, there is need to demand for an audit of the voter registration. And thirdly, also, I think you heard how much that the government of Hakainde Hichilema has demanded that since the constitution is now law, there are specific provisions which are in the constitution which have been prescribed but must be operationalized by subsidiary laws, and that we'll see laws like acts like the Electoral Process Act to be amended. And that worries me, rightly so, because you've seen how we voted, how our MPs voted over Bill 7. And before an election, you anticipate that the Electoral Process Act might be tampered with. in view of the constitution, to ensure that actually they seal off. That is why there is need for the opposition to come together to think through, because the 2026 ball game is not a matter of just chanting and singing. There's need to go to a drawing board, think through how best can we handle this, and confront the powers that be, confront the system, because the way it stands right now, ECZ is not able to handle a free and fair election. I think that's my opinion.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. We were hosting Honorable Sensual Banda. He might come. We are reviewing the year. We are reviewing issues of the year. And one of the critical matters that occurred in the year is the loss of Zambia's sixth president, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, who we lost on 5th June 2025. It's been 7 months and he hasn't been put to rest. It's a matter of concern for the nation and for our leaders. For many stakeholders, that this matter should be settled. President Hakainde Hichilema must yield to the wishes and concerns of the family, must abandon the court process in South Africa, must ensure that the late president is put to rest in a dignified and manner that is allowed by both the law and the family, and the two interests can be struck where Zambia looks good. We are currently looking very bad, that we have proceeded to move on. We are campaigning, we are engaging in diabolical debates, but we have not put our late president to rest. This is a matter of serious worry. Do you have any thoughts and your last words before we go?
Yes, indeed. And that regards the last item which you just raised. The former president, Edgar Chagwa Lungu, before he became a president, he came from a family. And the powers that be, they should deal with him as a man who came from a family, a man who's got a wife and children, brothers and sisters, before we can advance the cause of what the law says and so on and so forth. There is need to have compassion. Let's lead the country with compassion. Let's lead the country with love. For me, it's unthinkable that 7 months down the line, our former head of state is still in the morgue. It's unthinkable, because for me, if I was President HH, I'd have said, well, the family does not want me to preside over the funeral, and delegate the matter to the vice president. That does not make that mean that it's not a state funeral. It's not made a state funeral because there's head of state, So for me, is that at this time, I would appeal even to the Attorney General himself to advise the president that they should drop the court matters, and that the president should be brought home and give the wishes of the family, so that the former president can come home and rest. This is not helping us as a country. Mind you, spiritually, he was a king over this land, and if a king has not rested, that has got its only connotation to the country, as it were. Some people might not appreciate this, but I think it's important that the President HS, my pleas is that have mercy on the family of Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Let them put to rest according to the wishes of the former president, and provide the support they require, so that he's given the honor he deserves. So by and large, and I think that's what I can say.
Thank you very much. That's Honorable Sensual Banda. Thank you for your insights. We are reviewing the year in the next few programs, and I'll come and close. There's lessons for Bill 7. We understand, I have reported the matter to the Anti-Corruption Commission, that some MPs were bought to a bust to flown to Lower Zambezi and another set to Livingstone, and they were given up to $150,000. Here is a lesson from a member of parliament who received money to vote to vote favorable to the people that financed him. Here is the outcome: 10 years in jail.
Please stand. When you were elected, you were entrusted to exercise independent judgment and uphold the highest standards of integrity, values of paramount importance. In seeking public office, one pledges to act in accordance with conscience and the public good. Parliamentarians wield significant influence over public and political discourse. It is incumbent upon them to speak with honesty and conviction, irrespective of whether their views are met with approval or dissent. When you say what someone has paid you to say, you are not speaking with sincerity. If it were your genuine opinion, you would not need to be paid for saying it. Whether or not you believed any of what you said at the behest of Voloshin and Medvedchuk, allowing money to corrupt your moral compass constitutes a grave betrayal of the trust vested in you by the electorate. Your misconduct has ramifications far beyond personal honour, which is now irretrievably damaged. It erodes public confidence in democracy. When politicians succumb to financial inducement, the public can no longer rely on the veracity of political debate, which may be tainted by disinformation. The enlisting of fellow representatives into this activity compounds the wrongdoing, undermining the mutual trust essential to the proper functioning of democratic institutions. The corrosive damage to public life caused by such actions is enduring. The court regards bribery as a malignancy at the heart of public life, one that impoverishes the national interest. Those entrusted with public leadership are required to adhere to the highest standards of probity. The law will respond to such breaches with stern punishment, both to mark society's condemnation and to deter others from similar transgressions. The sentence on count 2 is 5 years imprisonment. The sentence on all other counts except count 4 is 5 years concurrent. The sentence on count 4 is 5.5 years consecutive, making a total sentence of 10.5 years. You will be eligible for release on licence after serving half the term, and you must abide by the conditions of the licence until the full sentence is served. Please go down, Mr. Gill.
Kwenyu ndemwe chabe mabanja onanjala mkomo ndalama zonse mutumbalano masukwa kuchuluka pa mutupatu. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. Kani zanu ndizo panda pindu, anakulira miseu mwatu, tikufuna chilengede chato pano, osati mapoke tanu opindika ndalama. Listen to the cries, they're louder than your lies. You can't silence the truth. It's time for the youth. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu is not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. We rise, we stand, we fight together for the children, for a better forever. Kwenyu kunata pano, we take the race. Tikonza jiko.
Thank you very much for all that we're watching. We've come to the end of the broadcast. My sincere thanks to Honorable Sensio Banda, and thank you for supporting the program during this period. It's festive period, family time, but you found time to be with us. We have another review program of the year, but beginning January, we have summoned all leaders to appear before you, view them, evaluate them, see their suitability to challenge President Hakainde Hichilema, see their suitability to form a team that can help rule our country, see their suitability to craft programs that will get us out of debt, into development, that will unite the country, that will forestall peace and security. I noticed that the African Union has issued a very strong statement against Somaliland. Somaliland is an enclave in Somalia. It's a peaceful area of Somaliland. It's never of Somali. It has never been affected by the failed state of Somali. They've attempted to be independent. They've called for recognition. In the week, Israel recognized Somaliland as an independent state and opened bilateral relations. And Somalia as a republic have issued a very strong statement against that, and the African Union have also supported Somali, that it is mischief by Israel to have recognized a province. It's like, for example, the dispute we have over Barotse land, and another country then recognizes the Barotse land as an independent state. That's what has happened to the story of Somaliland. We have concerns. Tomorrow's match, Zambia is playing Morocco. We have to be with high BP medicine. We have to have a calculator, and we pray that the boys score and bring us back into the game. Otherwise, it's not looking very good. The pitiful state of football seems to be the state of our country in every aspect, in every area. And that's why we all rebuffed this newspaper that cited President Hakainde Hichilema as among the top leaders in the world. And even if you look at the list, for example, our dear brother who has just suffered and survived the coup last week is on top there with President Hakainde Hichilema. It just shows you the puppeteers behind this process to make someone look good. We are going to elections, and you're going to see many of those reports to attempt to hoodwink you, to attempt to cause doubt on your interpretation of reality. They want to distort that. So until next time, God bless you, and we will see you later.
Kwenyu ndemwe chabe mabanja onanjala mkomo ndalama zonse mutumbalano masukwa kuchuluka pa mutupatu. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu not enough. Time is up. For your lies and bluff. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu not enough. Time is up. For your lies and bluff. Kanizanu ndizopanda pindu. Anakulira miseu mwatu. Tikufuna chilengede chatopano. Osati mapocket anu opindika ndalama. Listen to the cries, they're louder than your lies. You can't silence the truth. It's time for the youth. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu is not enough. Time is up. For your lies and bluff. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu not enough. Time is up. For your lies and bluff. We rise, we stand, we fight together for the children, for a better forever. When you kunata pano, take the rain. Tikonza jiko.